name is Lorne Michaels. I'm the producer of Saturday Night.
The whole night?
Yeah, the whole night.
Chevy Chase, Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd. How the fuck do you pronounce this?
Was there one specific, like, crazy-ass story that you heard from that first episode that sort of inspired you guys to do this deep dive?
I mean, it was actually getting to be a guest writer back in 2008 and experiencing that, everything from writing a sketch to getting it on air to the moments leading up to them going live from New York at Saturday night. That exhilaration is what I wanted to capture in a movie.
Yeah, the energy, it's so propulsive. It's amazing. It's kind of from what I understand, or from my my own sort of knowledge as a big SNL fan, it's kind of like an amalgamation of events that maybe not necessarily happened on opening night, but sort of happened throughout those early days. Can you talk about that?
We interviewed every person we could find that was in the building on October 11th, 1975. Mm-hmm. Writer, actor, Lorne to the NBC pages, members of a Billy Preston's band. We wanted to capture every story that we could find that gave the audience the feeling of what it was like to be there opening night. And we boiled down months of stories down into one 90-minute experience.
Yeah. What is something that happens in this movie that's so absurd people are going to think you made up, but actually happened?
All of it. I mean, everything from them putting down bricks for home base in the moments leading to going air to Milton Berle pulling out his penis. I mean, it's just every story is insane.
Yeah, it is. Who would you say were sort of among the most helpful of those original players that you guys interviewed?
They all were. Rosie Schuster was the funniest of the group. Rosie Schuster was one of the head writers of the original season and was easily the funniest when we did our interview, and she was able to give us an understanding what it was like, but also her relationship with Lorne.
Cast is so amazing as a whole ensemble. One performance I want to ask you about, because it just feels so unexpected when you realize that, if you didn't know going into this, that's Dylan O'Brien playing Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
He is so spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, how did he come into the picture?
I mean, the role of Dan Aykroyd was the trickiest to cast, and it was very funny to me, of course, because I had just directed Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters,
right.
And now I was casting someone as Dan Aykroyd in this film. I know Dan very well. I feel like I can write Dan's voice really well, and we were having a very hard time finding an Aykroyd, and then Dylan O'Brien walked in and just nailed it.
Yeah. Has Dan seen the movie? What's been his response?
Dan hasn't seen the movie yet, but he's read the script, and and we've talked a lot about it.
Okay, so he's going to be blown away. I think
I
by this performance.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many famous faces that you guys had to cast. Was this the most challenging casting process you've gone through?
Easily.
Yeah.
80 speaking roles, all these known quantities, and every character gets an arc. Most movies, you have 3-4 characters who have an arc. Everybody has an arc in this film. Every character gets paid off. And we have a relationship with Jim Henson, Billy Crystal, Andy Kaufman, Billy Preston, not to mention, the stars of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and how did you land on Nicholas Braun for not one, but
Yeah.
two iconic
Well,
roles?
we wrote the Jim Henson role for Nicholas Braun, and then we realized, wait a second, he's also perfect for Andy Kaufman, and we thought, on Saturday Night Live, you get to play a bunch of different characters. Why not do it in the movie too?
Yeah. And then Gabriel is so impressive as Lorne, kind of the
Yeah.
heart and soul. I mean, he has to have one of the most impressive arcs. He just played Steven Spielberg,
Yeah.
like the young alter ego. What can you say about what he brought to this role?
The first time I met Gabriel LaBelle, he was standing next to Steven Spielberg at a screening of Fabelmans, and somehow this young 21-year-old held his own, was almost holding court next to the greatest director of all time.
Yeah.
That was the moment I was like, all right, this kid has chutzpah. I mean, I think he could actually be Lorne Michaels.
There's a term you hear a lot in doc filmmaking, biopic filmmaking, warts and all. And like some of these characters, they feel like they're presented like really honestly, like not always super lovable at moments. Is there ever a temptation in telling like a true story like this to sort of soften those edges, or are you just like we have to tell it how we heard it?
The creation of Saturday Night was a dangerous place, and with brilliant comic minds, and comedy has its tenderness and its nastiness, and it was our job to put all of that in one movie.